Pretty much all of our time in the last handful of days, week or two, has been focused on assembling orders for fall shipping. And so you can see right outside of our back door here, this is where we're heeling in all sorts of different plants for folks to send along, getting them organized and grouped in bundles of 3 and 10. This we're looking at is chestnuts. There's hazelnuts in there, clove currants, and pawpaws. And so some of the getting of these plants is going out to a field and digging them up. And then other ones we're getting from air prune boxes. So these are Yamhill Jefferson Cross hazelnuts that were grown in air prune boxes this year, and they did a great job for themselves of growing. And so I'm going to take a look over at our neighbor's spot where we've got some more air prune boxes that need to be emptied and share with you fine folks what that all looks like. So stick around. It's a little bit of a mess out here on our neighbor's side, but this is where we've set up air prune boxes this spring to grow out a bunch of trees from seed. And you can see we're in the middle of the process of digging them up. We don't have the time right now to really organize all of the boxes and put them away in a nice way for the winter, but we'll come back to that. And you can see here's a pure European hazelnut box with ridiculously large leaves that needs to come apart. We emptied one Ashworth bur oak, so anybody that's ordered Ashworth bur oaks from us, they came from air prune boxes like this. You can see there's at least 100 trees or so in there. And one of the things that I really love about how this process works is this area was pretty weedy. It was a lawn in the spring, and now by mulching extremely deeply in the walkways with a mixture of hay and wood chips, and then the nature of the air prune boxes completely blocking light to the plants growing underneath, you can see here's a spot where we harvested out 2 air prune boxes of English walnuts, and now we've got these beautiful raised beds ready for next season to go in any direction we may like. The other day, Juan and I, along with our friend Andrew, worked on the Ashworth bur oak box that was right there. It's nice to do it with multiple people because you can kind of lean the boxes on their side, or you can have one person use a shovel to dig a little bit while the other person picks apart. But the thing that's really nice with these boxes, 2 feet by 4 feet, is they're manageable by one person as well. And so this evening what I'm going to do is pull the cap off of this box right here and hope that there might be some really nice English walnuts to look at. We've got 2 risers, so I'll slip those off and explain what that's about and then get in there to get the trees. I don't have a tripod, otherwise I'd show you the process, but you get the idea. I lifted the lid off, put it off to the side. Here's a box that we could have done a lot better in keeping up with weeds early on. The key with all this is to weed early, and then you don't have to weed as often, but whatever, there's still trees in here. This is an English walnut seedling. There's another, many. I'll do the weeding as I actually pull them out. I think what I noticed, one thing is this type of cap is folded over at the top. We thought this might be slick because then it's like one contiguous piece, but really the better bet is to have caps that go up and then a cap that can be taken off. We were able to keep up with the weeds a lot better. This one was too tall, it was hard, the folded over stuff was tough, and it was loose enough that I think squirrels got in here anyway and ate out some roots. So, oh well, lesson learned, and it'll use less metal to do that. So now I'm going to slip off these 2 side rails and get at the actual base of these trees. So those 2 rails slipped off really easily by hand. Those are just 4-inch risers. There's 2 of them, so it makes 8-inch of total rise. And the reason I really love that is this way we can make the bases of all of our air prune boxes not that huge, not that deep, and not super heavy. And then we can either use them as they are or add 1 riser, 2 riser, 3 riser, depending on the types of plants we're working with. When we slip the risers off, all of a sudden now the root systems of these plants are really quite accessible. I'll need to do a little bit of shovel work just to get in on that side and pry them up, but then the trees almost entirely fall out without a huge amount of fuss. So let me get in there and pull a few out. I use a nursery shovel to slip down on the side there, just get under things and pry them up. A couple more lessons learned this year. Number 1, we filled the bottoms of these boxes with muck from a ditch. It was really clayey, there's lots of stones, really dense, and I think that had a negative influence overall on the tree's ability to grow and get access to nutrients. Where we had nice compost in the top, there's really rich, beautiful root systems. This is all part of the root system of this one tree. But then down below, it's a little easier with two hands, as you could imagine. You can see how chonky that is. It's like sticky and hard to get apart. So in the future, air prune boxes pretty much should be filled with aged wood chips or nice compost. Even that all being said, that's a nice root system to not have to dig for. A little bit of a weird top with a split, but I'd very happily plant that tree. And there's about maybe 40 or 50 in this box amongst the weeds. So for having a weird cap that allowed squirrels in to eat some of the nuts, with a poor clay soil down at the bottom and not enough weeding throughout the season, let's see how many trees we actually get out of 2 feet by 4 feet. It wasn't the easiest, and I think the main drawback to all this is really having these like chunky clods at the bottom. So really good lesson there. Nice layer of really coarse wood chip at the bottom, or some sort of material like hugel mound, that's great. And then really good potting mix quality fill for the rest of it would probably have generated some much larger trees. But even still, there's a whole bunch of trees about that size. They're good, 8 to 12 inches above ground, but a very nice fibrous root system. These would be field ready this season. Then there's also a handful of strangely formed ones. We can put them in a bed again for another season, or just plant them in our own landscape. They almost always grow anyway. But here you get a sense of what can grow in a 2 foot by 4 foot box on what was a lawn this spring. There's at least 20 really beautiful field ready plants, and that would fill about an acre or two of English walnut life. I mean, look at the size of those nuts. These are seedlings from this region, really hardy. And then the rest could be infill or grown for another year. I would argue that that's a really nice high value translation of a 2 foot by 4 foot space with really suboptimal ingredients of clay that's tight at the bottom, a cap that was too tall and too inaccessible, all sorts of design issues that I can take away and refine for next year. I'm still not too sad about what we get out of this box. So air prune box is quite a lovely solution for growing trees from seed on any sort of landscape. We've done this on driveways. We've done this now in this lawn that we're converting over to a permanent raised bed garden space. The sky's the limit. Are you renting a place and you want to generate some income while you're there? You can sacrifice one parking space for a car and probably put 6 to 8 of these air prune boxes. So you can get a sense of what you can generate in one parking spot in a summer. So I really love the basic idea. I'm sure there's ample room for innovation. I'd love to hear from folks about what you're doing to improve this basic concept of modular, simple, extensible, movable ways of generating trees from seed on unending waves. Thank you for watching.